what is a function? So, and how the functions are handled. What are the basic points about the functions? So these topics already we discussed, but detailedly we will see now. So what are the functions and how do we options? Actually, technically, as I already told you, so function defines logic for handling specific functionality, defines logic for handling specific functionality. And important, a function may or may not, so may not return value. It may or may not return value. So that means it have the behavior of, generally function have the behavior of a procedure. Already I told you 3 points. What are those 3 points? Technically, function means always returns a value, and a method will not return a value, and the procedure, I told you procedure may or may not return the value, may not return value. And in JavaScript based environment, we don't have methods and procedures. We have only one function. So, and that function have all the behaviors. That means it will have the behavior of a method. It will have the behavior of a procedure. It can configure everything. Now, how do we define the functions? How do we configure the functions? And how to handle the functions in a class? Technically, functions outside the class are defined by using function keyword. And functions inside the class are defined by using an access modifier and function and reference name. So that is how we define the function. That means outside the class, the functions are written like this: function and the function name, and we define like this. Inside the class, we will define an access modifier and the name, and we define like this. That is how we configure the function. Let's take an example here. That means functions inside, outside. So here I'm writing a function. Suppose this is hello function. Hello is a function. And this hello function is return. So here some hello Typescript. So this is the function. And we are creating a class. In the class is demo. In the demo class, so here we are defining a public print. And this is a method. And this is also a function. Just I'm creating a variation here, right? This is a function. Now inside the class, the function so is not defined by using the function keyword. We define by using an access specifier, that is public, and a print. And what it has to do is console.log. We are calling the hello method function here. That means whatever the return value is there, it can handle that return value of that particular. That means we are creating let obj is equal to new demo. And through obj, I'm accessing the print method. So I'm configuring that. I'm configuring here. So demo.ts and node demo.js, it can access and print that. So here we have two important techniques to define a function. So outside the class, it is defined by using the keyword function. And inside the class, it is defined by using this just a access modifier and a name. Access modifier and a name. And important, so inside the class, it will have an access modifier, a reference name, access modifier, and a reference name with return type also. So by default, its return type is taken as void. What is void return type? I will tell you. That means it will use here return type colon. It will use return type. So return type is actually data type. Return data type. We need to configure that return data type. That means here, suppose I am defining the return type as colon. Currently, it is void type. So it is not returning anything, just it is handling this functionality. What is return type? How to configure the return types? I will tell you. Suppose I'm defining the same for the function outside the class as a string. That means it is return type as a string. We can configure it, no problem. The return type can be defined outside, right? It is returning a string. So if you are configuring inside, then it is very regularly used with, because TypeScript doesn't care about this. So, but TypeScript usually cares about this inside the function. So that means the function in the class, it is very important and good to define with a return type, what it needs to return. So you have to define that. So this is string and this is returning. And how you configure this? Let's compile and run this. And you can see it is doing the same. So when you are defining the functions within the class and outside the class, so there are so many important techniques of defining the function. So this is how we have to configure a function. I will give you so many things are there. One by one, we will go in detail. So what is the first point? Function is used to define any specific logic and handle a specific functionality. And within the class, the functions are created by using an access modifier and a reference name and the return type. And outside, they are defined in this way. Right? So they are defined by using the keyword function. Important is so many things are there to discuss here. So important here is a function usually, when you define the function, let's keep a heading. So anonymous function. That means a function can be defined without name. So a function without name is known as anonymous function. A function without name is known as anonymous function. So that means when you are defining the function, a function can be defined without name. Then we call it as an anonymous function. So usually, the first point is when these anonymous functions are used. Anonymous functions are mostly used on callback mechanism. Callback is a mechanism where the functions will execute automatically according to the situation. I told you in the constructor concept. That means the functions are going to execute automatically. So that is a callback mechanism. Already I told you what is a callback mechanism. Then how to access that function and use the function if it is not having any name. if an anonymous function is, that means, for example, see, so if I don't give a name